And so we change our clocks on a different day than the rest of the world because we're America.
Well, that's good. We're American. Daylight savings, Bill. Now, I think you and I are we're at opposite ends of this debate here. So, as we know, we just sprung ahead, or on Sunday at 2 in the morning, we sprung ahead, having an hour of my sleep cycle stolen from me that I can never get back, Bill.
This is true. And I, like you, never want to steal time from you again. And I never want to be like a Democrat and give you time that you didn't earn again.
Mm.
Okay? It's kind of I see a very leftist policy. They're taking time from you and then giving time back to you and making you thank them for doing nothing but monkeying with what is your own time.
So, in essence, they're redistributing.
Yes.
It's time redistribution.
Yes.
Much like their wealth redistribution plans.
Everybody should be equally exhausted. That's basically what they're doing by taking away an hour of sleep.
Well, it keeps the masses pliant if they're sleep deprived.
This is true.
I'm gonna let you go off. Give your position.
Okay, my position is I have never been and will never be a morning person. I suffer from Newton's first law of motion, that an object in motion tends to stay in motion, and an object at rest tends to stay at rest. And there is no unbalanced force that comes along and breaks the inertia of me sleeping. And so
I have witnessed this first.
On the rare occasion that I wake up and it's still dark outside, I feel like I've already accomplished something. On the same thing, if I get home from work and it's already dark outside, I feel like I'm wasting my life because there's nothing I can do in the daylight around the house. And as a kid, you're stealing the ability of kids to play after school before the sun goes down by having it dark before they get home from school. I think a kid would rather trudge out to the bus or trudge to school in the morning twilight, but then still get a couple hours of outside time in the wintertime, than vice versa. That would be how I see it. So I am all for not standard time. I want what we have right now. I want daylight savings time as the new standard.
You want daylight savings time to be permanent?
Yes. I want summer hours.
Okay. I'm going to have to disagree with you.
Well, you're allowed to be wrong even on our own show.
In love. Simply because the origins of daylight savings time go back to World War I. This was something that was instituted to save on coal resources, coal being used at the time for energy, heat, lighting, things of that nature. World War I, for anybody that doesn't know, happened from 1914 to 1918. The U.S. didn't even enter World War I until 1917. So we were only in the last year. So that was 111 years ago, give or take.
108.
108? My math is off. But the studies have found that it only saved 0.3% in energy. So negligible.
Well,
what it has
you have
done.
To remember, Tony, we were still burning whale oil then. How many whales did it save?
I don't know, Bill. But what I do know is, so this has gone on for over 100 years with no discernible benefit as far as its original intent, which was to save on energy costs. Hasn't done that. What it has done, and what studies have shown time and time again, is that it increases when the clocks are sprung forward, the rates of heart attacks rise by 24%, car accidents raised by 6%, sleep disorders and depression raised by 11%. And there's approximately 28 vehicle related deaths that can be directly related to that. It
So
messes.
you're saying that in that short period of time, everybody becomes a Gen Z woman.
Possibly. Well, I don't know about that. All I know is that, and these studies were done before COVID. So I'm a little more inclined to believe them, as there's really no political basis for it. But yeah, so it messes with people's circadian rhythms, that their natural inclination for the hours that are standard time as far as the light cycle. And the majority of the population, Bill, 70%, as a matter of fact, according to some polls, actually favor making standard time the permanent time.
I think people would be happy with one or the other. But what's crazy right now is this law or whatever passed in 1917 or 1918, right? But some states have always opted out of it. Some states were part of the states in one time zone and parts in the other time zone.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was always crazy that, like, I'm against federalizing laws, but if one thing needed central control, it's like, what damn time is it? Okay. And we left that to the states, and they made it crazy. And so, I would like one or the other, okay, because it's like working a rotating shift versus working a steady shift on a different scale.
Right.
I take one or the other, but I think what we should do is we should allow the states to choose which one they're going to be in. So, for instance, I'm in Eastern time, but I'm way over on the west side of Eastern time. And so the sundown for me is like an hour different from the sundown for you, almost.
Right. Okay? Yeah. Well, I'm not saying we should eliminate time zones, because obviously California
time zones, but the states wouldn't necessarily stay in the same time zone. Let them pick which time zone they want to be in to solve the daylight or standard time. Let everything say there, but maybe Ohio becomes central time.
So I think an hour over. I think that would be too chaotic. I think it's easier to say stick with the time zones that everybody's in, but as far as the standard time versus daylight savings, just based on the health risks and the effects that it has, because Bill, I already suffer from insomnia, like on a normal basis. Now you're taking an hour of sleep from me, so I'm in that category of, those people that are more at risk to have a heart attack.
You know what's even crazier, Tony, is maybe a dozen years ago, the U.S. changed the date that we observe daylight savings on both sides. And we became either a week or 2 weeks different from the rest of the world. And so we change our clocks on a different day than the rest of the world because we're America.
Well, that's good. We're Americans.
Right. I would rather have led and said, we're going to stop changing our clocks. World follow us on that. Than the vice versa.
Right. And so there's a bill apparently stalled in I think it's stalled in the Senate. So there was a bill passed to standardize. I forget if it was standardized for daylight saving time or standard time. It's just sitting there. Like, nobody's acted on it. Though, like I said, polls show that 70% of Americans are in favor of just pick one, preferably standard, because that's what the polls are more in favor of, and just do it. Arizona and Hawaii are the only two states in the union that do not observe daylight savings time.
That's because Hawaii's at the equator and it doesn't matter for them.
True.
And Arizona
doesn't recognize anything.
Yeah, they're barely a state. What was I had one other thought on it, but it must not have been so interesting because it just completely jumped out of my head.
So tell us, anybody who's watching, our devoted followers, tell us what you think in the
I
comments.
remember. This is my final argument for it, Tony. And it's all about me. That's the argument, okay?
Wow.
I have, for my work, meetings with a team in China and India. And they're doing them at the end of their business day, 5:30 p.m. And that meant last week, all those meetings started at 7 a.m. for me. And this week, all those meetings start at 8 a.m. That's why I want to stick with daylight time.
Or maybe they should have their meetings in the beginning of their workday instead of the end.
Yeah, and then I'm up at the other side of the clock.
You'll work something out with them. But tell us what you think in the comments. Are you for or against standardized time or daylight savings being permanent? What is your pick and why? We'd like
Stop
to hear.
the switching.
Stop
I can
the
always
switching.
move to a time zone I like, I guess.
That's true.
Yeah.
So they changed that.
Speak, wise one.
The clocks are going to spring forward on Sunday. When are you going to get rid of daylight savings?
Okay, are you ready? So this should be the easiest one of all, but it's a 50-50 issue. And if something's a 50-50 issue, it's hard to get excited about it. I assume people would like to have more light later. But some people want to have more light earlier because they don't want to take their kids to school in the dark.
I don't want to have a heart attack.
It's a little bit one way, but it's very much a 50-50 issue. And it's something I can do, but a lot of people like it one way, a lot of people like it the other way. It's very even. And usually I find when that's the case, what else do we have to do?
It's the switching that's giving you the heart attack. If you were always on that time, you'd be fine.
No, because it goes against the natural circadian rhythm.
No, because that would be the circadian rhythm then.
Apparently not for
like
me.
an African drum beat, primal.
If you like what you see, actually,
yes. If you do like what you see,
actually click on that little like icon,
Yeah.
and if you want to see and get alerts for more of our content, click follow.
but make me earn it. If I'm up here and I'm just boring, then go into our chat and say, "Come on, give me a reason."